Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of General Geekery. With me, as always, is JD and his coonskin cap.
Happy 4th of July,
Happy
everybody.
4th of
Happy
July, everybody.
Independence Day.
Hopefully, you guys are all drinking alcohol and blowing shit up. So just be safe out there. Although this probably won't go up till the 5th of July, just due to the fact I got to edit it and how long it takes
Details.
me. Yeah, how long it takes me to actually upload to YouTube. So
Oh,
um, one of the biggest things that we did last year was and seemed to get a lot of like comments and following was our custom challenge where JD and I picked a list of figures that we'd like to see the other one do make customs of, and then we did the reveal here in Colorado when JD came out during the COVID thing when we had our little mini convention. So JD is coming out in October with his girlfriend for her brother's wedding, and we're going to get together then. So we thought, let's have another custom challenge. So this is the second annual General Geekery Custom Challenge,
second annual. Thanks for the pressure, bro.
right?
Um, I I went to when I was in Texas for the weekend or last week. I went to the Alamo with Tanya.
Yes.
So where I bought my coonskin cap because I've never had one and I wanted one. And
Nice.
Davy Crockett's awesome, so I bought one. So I figured I'd celebrate the I'd celebrate our Independence Day
Had to get me
by
one of those.
wearing this, and we watched Independence Day over Zoom because Tanya had seen it, but not in a long time, and I've seen it too many times, but not this year. So
And hopefully you stayed
watch
away
that.
from that sequel.
Oh, that's not a problem. She hasn't seen that. I briefly explained the cast members that came back for it and all the reasons we shouldn't bother watching it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's all you need to know right there.
I don't.
Emily and I
It,
went to that together, and we were this close to walking out. And the
yeah,
movie,
it was a sequel that never needed to happen in the first place. Did not need to be made 20 years later. And I mean, at least in the movie, it takes place 20 years after the original,
yeah,
but it's still it was not necessary.
it was a dumpster fire.
It really was. It was proof that sometimes a one and done movie that's really super enjoyable is all you need.
Yeah. So,
Um,
custom challenge. JD and I, our challenge was to pick 10 figures each. We didn't make that. Neither of us did.
I could have, but it was too many, and there were a few choices that I'm pretty sure that Brighton won't make. Um, Two of which I'm sure that I kind of thought if I challenge him to them, then I don't have to make them
Mm,
because only one of them I made, and one of them I'm like I started, but I'm like no, let's see what he'd do with it. But no, some of the ones I did pick, I think are going to be a lot more intriguing to him. So I'm just going to go with what I've got. So technically I've got six, but while we talk, I'm leaving room for something to occur to Brian that maybe it hadn't before.
yeah, and I've got five right off the top of, or not off the top of my head. Um, I didn't. I really wanted to sit down like so what we're doing this time, I'm going to do them in my style, which is kind of hyper realistic. JD did O-ring last year, and this year he's going to do modern sculpt. So that influenced a couple of my decisions on which ones I want to see JD make. Um,
Um,
but the ones I don't have a long list, but I've got a fairly interesting list. I think JD's going to like what I've picked. So I'm
okay.
going to let JD throw the first challenge out.
This one, judged by what you do for a career, might seem a no-brainer, but the character is obscure as all get out. Back in the DTC era, there was a medic that Hasbro made that was wearing bright X-wing orange and had a goofy ass code name of Med Alert.
Alert.
Um,
Yeah,
I
I
I
laughed when I saw that because that's like the thing that grandma pushes when she falls down and you
yeah,
help,
I
I've fallen,
don't
I can't get up.
I don't know why his code name was not Red Alert,
Right?
because that would have been shared with the Transformer, so I'm guessing that Hasbro had the rights. But I do know, I believe one of his prototype code names was supposed to be Crash Cart.
Ooh,
Um, so I don't know why they went with Metal Alert, but it's terrible, and the figure is goofy as all get out.
agreed.
The only thing memorable about it, for the wrong reasons, was the color scheme. The
Yeah,
only thing memorable about it for the right reasons was, well, I really like new characters, new blood on the Joe team, and he was a brand new created character
yeah,
that was quickly forgotten about as fast as he was added to the line. And but Brian as a trade is an EMT,
paramedic.
and if he decides to tackle it, I'd really like to see what he would do with it to bring it into his style, but also let's make a medic that isn't wearing an X-wing flight suit.
Yeah, no, I like that. No, that's a good idea. Man, yeah, I like that one. That's at the top of my list already. Because yeah, I completely forgot about him. I could get a DTC figure specifically
Yes.
to make that, and that would be even cooler than
Well, because the helmet that he had was really cool. Um, I he's well, yeah, if you got one, I bet they're cheap too, because
yeah,
most of
I
that
don't
era
have
is cheap. Um, well, and I love obscure characters,
yeah.
and they don't get much more obscure than say him. So,
Okay, I do have a sixth figure.
aha.
Let me write it down real quick or I'm gonna forget it. Ooh, my airbrush. Let me turn my airbrush off.
Ooh, leave that in for the blooper reel. Um,
Hey,
last year when we announced our when we did the reveal when I was at your house, we said, well, we couldn't remember what our list had been, and neither of us had gone back to listen to the episode. But this year, we actually he typed a list. I actually wrote the list, so I can't forget who was on the list of possible customs to challenge him with.
and I tried to look at the episode last night, and it's like an hour and 45-minute episode. I was gonna count, I was like, see how many JD picks, see how many I pick, and then like half an hour in, I'm just watching the episode, customizing. I'm like, fuck, I haven't been keeping track. So I'm like, shit, I'm enjoying our episode. I think we put on a fairly decent show for.
I like listening to our show after we put it out. I don't listen to every episode, but when I do, I always get absorbed in the conversation.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So JD's first pick is a updated version of Metal Alert. I like that. So um, my first one that I'm going to throw out there, if anybody follows my work, which I kind of guessing you do if you're watching this, everybody knows I'm a huge fan of the specialty Vipers. And number one, I'd like to give a shout out to KR Customs, who was at Joe Fest a couple of weeks ago and picked up a Motor Viper, a Gyro Viper, and a Star Viper for me to help fill out my ranks. I've only got a few specialty Vipers that I don't have in my collection, so I'm getting pretty close to completing that. So, as a huge specialty Viper fan, JD, I'd like to see what you can do on creating a completely brand new specialty Viper that does not already exist.
um, never would have considered the idea of a completely open-ended make that shit up yourself character.
Because
Okay.
JD, when I don't write my own file cards for my characters. JD writes my file cards for me. So JD
True.
is like the best at characterization. I mean, go back and watch the episode where we reveal and look how much detail in just the backstory, not the figures, but the backstory he put into those customs. So that's why I think him doing a specialty Viper isn't just going to be sticking a bunch of parts together and slapping some paint on it, because he will put more effort into the backstory of what this Viper is and does than he does into the custom.
Matter of fact, when I did your guillotine custom, did I or did I not throw into his backstory that he was responsible for a couple of the meandering uh, specialty Vipers that were one and done in the Hasbro line?
Yeah, he said he was
Um,
responsible for the Jungle Vipers and one other one. I forgot which one because I
yeah, I
watched
can't
the
remember
last
either.
night, and he was cross trained as a Sludge Viper and
Oh,
another
that's
Viper.
right.
Which one?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Um, I do like my minuscule trivia. So create my own original. I'm writing down what your
Ooh, no, that's a good.
on the back side of what of my challenge list. I'm writing down the things you're mentioning, so I don't have to go back and re-listen to this episode.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna do that myself. All right. So that's my first one. Is creating a specialty Viper.
That
That's
is
not
a really good suggestion. I like that. I never saw that coming, and
Oh, my suggestions only get better from here, my friend.
oh boy.
Yeah, you're gonna like what I've got in store.
All right. Well, you might hate some of my list then.
I don't know because you thought I would hate that version 2 Night Creeper, and
I
that's
really did. That
fucking
was I don't remember what my list was, but I'm pretty sure that was, no matter what it was, that was the bottom of that list of things I thought you were going to make.
Mhm.
So my next pick, Supersonic Zap, specifically Supersonic Fighter Zap.
Sonic Fighter Zap, dude. I'm gonna have to
Yes,
go back.
the second
Oh, what that looks like.
version of Rafael Mendez, the Bazooka Trooper, where he's got silver armor up his legs. He's got missiles across his torso. He's got a big badass high tech he's got big badass high tech anti tank weapons, and the figure had a suspicious the figure's head had a suspiciously close facial sculpt to uh late actor Clark Gable. I don't know
Really?
why, but somebody thought maybe we'd give a damn. But yes. So Supersonic Fighter Zap. Firstly, I don't think you've ever made a Zap custom.
I have not.
Secondly, I really want to see
Ooh,
what you would do with uh a futuristic tactical armored version.
huh. All right. That's interesting. All right.
It's an excuse to make Zap in case you never get around to it, if you pick it.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Let me write that down real quick here.
I said you might hate some of these.
Sonic Fighter. Yeah, no, I have never made a Zap custom.
Yeah, he is one of the original 13. He was one uh that never got an update until then. Unlike say
Yeah.
Rock and Roll and Stalker and Grunt. Even though Grunt got his update the same year, it was a lot less Grunt and a lot less original 13 type of
Grunt had
update.
had a couple of updates before that, didn't he?
No, there was the tan version that came with the Falcon glider, but he had never had an updated version like a new sculpt until the yellow pants, brown pimp shirt.
The desert.
That was pretty bad. But I feel like Zap that same year got a gimmicky as it was the line he was in. At least it was a more appropriate update.
Yeah. Man, boy, I don't even know where I'd start with that. I'm gonna have to think about that one because I talk about a challenge. All right, so my next one, if you've been watching the show, you know JD is a huge fan of Eco Warriors.
Sure am.
So my next challenge is to come up with a big bad, so like boss type villain for the Eco Warriors. Come up with a new big bad for the Eco Warriors.
A replacement for Cesspool or like an additional threat that isn't Cesspool,
An
the
additional threat
evil
that is
lawyer.
that's cool.
Ooh.
Not a replacement. It's got to be a
Ooh.
an equal.
No, I like
So
that
like if
idea. I
there
don't want
like
to
if there'd
replace
been a
cesspool.
yeah, so like if there'd
Um,
been a second series of second wave of Eco Warriors, this would have been the big bad for that second wave.
okay, because that is true. Because the only updates, the only follow-ups we got for the Cobra side was the Toxo Zombie.
Toxo Zombie. And there was no, yeah, Toxo Zombie, I think is the only yeah, I think so. I think so. Toxo,
Um,
which is just a
okay.
kind of a resculpted version of Toxo Viper 2, which I need a Toxo Viper, the second version of Toxo Viper. I don't have one of those.
You do have a modern version one though, and I'm jealous.
I do have a modern one of those.
Cobra Eco Warrior. Ooh, I like that idea.
You like that
I'm
one, you'll like
suddenly
the next one, I guarantee you.
I'm suddenly annoyed at my list because it's all pre-established crap.
Yeah, I like pre-established crap. I mean, that's one of the things that I really like doing is taking.
Yeah, but I feel like I didn't go as outside of the box as I could have
Mm.
because I hadn't considered, you know, I will though. I might just fix my list.
Yeah, well, there's a reason we can't update this too. We could do a second. We can do an update and say, hey, we both came up with more figures. And
True.
we could do an update.
Okay. My next choice is Countdown. You have a Defiant.
Oh.
He's the first Joe astronaut that isn't the shuttle pilot payload.
Yeah.
He's a character that you'd otherwise never make ever. He had 2 repaints in the Star Brigade line, both of which were more interesting looking figures than his original.
I kind of like the original. I've never had it, but I kind of like it.
I had it, but I was 8 when it came out. I could never make heads or tails of what the lines, the ropes on the backpack. I get it now, but I didn't understand it at the time.
Yeah.
The head sculpt looks suspiciously like Paul Rubens.
I specifically didn't get it because I didn't have a Defiant.
Yeah, it was one that I think I got it for Christmas or my birthday. I don't think he's one I picked out at the store. I was always annoyed that the big bulbous helmet on the figure didn't actually resemble the super detailed looking helmet that was depicted in the painted art. So, but yeah, if you pick it, I just like to see what the pros from Dover would do with an astronaut that could possibly fit in his Defiant someday, maybe.
Boy, that's a tough one because I've thought about that and I'm like, I don't even know where I'd start on that.
Also, I don't know what his file name is. I can never remember. So, wow. Why haven't I didn't mention it? So,
Countdown.
Yeah, I don't. That's one I'm kind of dubious on. It was the first one I came up with, and the first one I almost dismissed. But I'd leave it on, but I left it on there specifically in celebration of your Defiant.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that. All right, my next one is another Eco Warriors figure. I would like to see what you would do with an Eco Warriors Lady Jane.
Eco Warriors Lady J.
Lady J. I'm sorry. Eco Warriors Lady J.
I know what you did. Okay. A little bit of trivia. Firstborn child number 1. Their middle name is Jane. Jayne. I tried to go with J, but their mother dismissed that. So the closest I could get was Jane. Their middle name was supposed to be J. So I'm a big fan of the character. So, but incidentally, my son's middle name, I originally wanted to go with Colson, and his mother rejected that outright. Yeah. So neither of my children have the dream super geeky middle names that I was hoping for.
Yeah, I know Lady J is your favorite female character, and I know Eco Warriors is your favorite line. And Flint has a Eco Warriors figure, so why does Lady J not have an Eco Warriors figure? So it's got to be Eco Warriors colors. I mean, it's got to be I don't want to say gaudy, but it's got to be bright,
Yeah, I can do that.
and it's got to look like it fits in with the Eco Warriors line. And I
Okay.
and I
Ooh,
think I'm betting as a betting man. I'm not a betting man, but if I were a betting man, I'm going to say that's one of the two that you're going to pick.
very possible. You, Lady J. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. I will consider that. Okay. My next choice, I'm gonna mix it up. I just added this to the list because it just occurred to me. Turn a Decepticon character into a human that works for Cobra.
Okay.
Um,
I've
Translate
done
it
that
as
with the
best
I've done that with the Combaticons.
right. Pick a new one. Pick a different Decepticon that isn't one of the Combaticons that is completely and just something that Cobra doesn't have otherwise. Like, I don't mean the specialty. I just mean a character that a Decepticon that you feel like could fit into the ranks without, you don't,
No,
you
I know where
don't,
you're going. I like because I haven't finished that because I've done the Combaticon or no well I mean Hasbro did it first, which is the Devastator Bat. Um, that
oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I made one myself, but I made a whole bunch of like specialty equipment for it
Right.
that Hasbro didn't even like think of doing. Um, and then I've done three of the five
Oh,
Combaticons.
also a character, like a specific character.
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
turn Starscream into a dude. Please
Yeah,
don't turn Starscream into a dude.
I, I would.
He would sound suspiciously like Cobra Commander, and that would rankle the head
I
snake.
like that one. I
Um,
see. No, the hard ones on the hard. Those are hard because, as I've mentioned before, a lot of I think customs live or die by the head that you use, and that's one that's the head will make or break that custom. I like that.
yeah.
I like that one a lot.
Hey, you probably have to go outside the Joe line, but you know, I'm just curious what you do with it because it was inspired by your what is the name of the Gestalt, the Combaticons?
Bruticus.
Thank you. I can never remember that. It was kind of inspired by that.
I still need to
And
finish the other two of those figures, but I'm stuck on parts. I don't know what to do for parts for Brawl and Onslaught because Onslaught's got to be a bigger base figure because he's a bigger thing. So plus, if I do that, then I can use I can card it because I have a Transformers template that I've made.
there you go.
And yeah, that's gonna be tough. I like that one though. I like that one a lot because I'm gonna have to sit down and look at Transformers. All right, my next
And
one.
hey, it doesn't have to be G1. You can go any
Yeah,
Transformer,
no,
any era.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so my next one, I have recently seen these. I've seen these figures recently. I didn't know they existed because I'm not a collector, and especially not a collector of things that existed outside of um, the American version of GI Joe. So a couple of the figures that I've seen that I really like. One of those is European Mutt.
Interesting. You mean the UK exclusive one,
Yeah,
right? Where he's got a different file name and different colors, and
yeah, it's kind of a blue.
yeah, he's basically a new character entirely.
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay. So
so you could do a like a Marauder Task Force dog with that. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that you could do with that.
Interesting.
Mm. But I really like that color scheme. I don't know
Oh, the
why.
color scheme's great. Yeah. I uh yeah, that would be cool to translate into. And because he's technically a different character, I could go with different details on him.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
I thought you could either just do a straight repaint, or you could, like you said, it's a different character. It's not um,
Straight repaint.
Stanley. What's his last name?
Pearl Mother.
Perlmutter. See, I at least knew his first name. So,
Born in Iselin, New Jersey. It's
yeah.
one of the about 37 years ago when I made modern updates to the DEF. That's the reason I remember his birthplace from reading his file card so many, many, many times.
Okay.
All right. Ooh, I like that idea. Straight repaint.
Yeah,
Or
so
you
I mean,
talking
it's
to
you
there?
can either take the easy road if you get stuck
No, no,
in
I know.
one,
Um,
or you could.
firstly, firstly, I wouldn't do that anyway. Secondly, have you seen the 25th Mutt? That figure was awful in 2008. It's far more awful now. Yes, it's terrible. Look at those legs. Look at those beefy tree trunk legs with that tiny weight in those itty bitty hands.
Yeah,
No. Well, one itty bitty hand and one missing hand.
his
He's
missing
doing
hand
his
to my mutt custom.
ah. I was gonna say he's doing his impersonation of Bespin Luke.
And
Um,
the head went to that custom too. So
um, all right. Ooh, good one. Okay, next up. I'm dubious on this one altogether, but Sigma 6 Scarlet.
Ooh.
Scarlet is a custom. I don't think you've ever done a custom of her.
uh
You're a fan. She started your redhead thing when you were a kid. Um,
she did.
but I don't think you've ever made a custom of her. If you have, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And Sigma 6 Scarlet has a specifically different look. She's got the red hair, but she's very futuristic looking, the
Hmm.
Sigma suits, but
I gotta see. I gotta
I
look
just
quick.
kind of an excuse to make a new Scarlet if you decided to go that route.
Let me write that down. Sigma 6.
I don't remember you making a Scarlet figure.
That would have been possibly just as we were becoming friends, because it is definitely probably one of my Riot Riot Viper customs when I went by Riot Viper.
Ah, okay, so you definitely don't have one that you've made in
Uh-uh.
the memorable past, and you
No,
don't have one that you've put on a card.
no, I've tried a couple of times to make a Scarlet custom and not been happy with what I made.
Maybe this is a chance.
Boy, yeah, I want to see what it looks like. I need to see what it looks like first.
It's an obscure version. She never got she never got the figure in the Sigma 6 line.
She did not.
No, she did not. There was a prototype, I believe, but it never actually happened. It was never released. It was never finished, and it's just a different look for Scarlet while still being recognizable. But
Okay,
again, another excuse for you to do a figure for you to make a character that you may not otherwise get around to making. So,
interesting. Interesting.
and I've tried twice to make 4-inch versions of a couple of Sigma 6 versions of characters, and both times I just fell down completely on it.
Huh. Ooh, yeah, the head would be challenging on that. I don't know what.
It would, but could be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Yeah, no, it's on the list for sure. This is going to be harder to choose than it was last time, I think. My next one is in the same vein as the last one, and that is UK exclusive Spirit.
Okay. That one's a tad bit more difficult because he's Spirit, like he is Charlie Iron Knife in a different deco. But unlike Mutt, who they changed his identity, but still, I have considered him before, but I have never actually gotten around to doing it. So
And see, some of those I think would be really cool to translate into a new sculpt.
yeah, I mean, I still would, even though he is the same character, he's not one that I would just do a repaint. Well, let's start with the fact that the 25th Spirit was a butt ugly figure, anyways.
Yeah, it
But
was pretty. They were cool for the time, but yeah, I mean,
Spirit was one there. That head sculpt that was janky as shit when it first came out. Which is why, because I remember one of the early Angel Forge or Good to Go, or they did a Spirit sculpt to replace the 25th head sculpt because it was all he had a big face. So all right, I like it.
actually, I
Um,
have another idea, so I will write that one down real quick. Okay. All right, go with your next one.
Vapor, the Hurricane pilot.
Oh man.
You made that bad ass repaint of the Hurricane VTOL. But you don't have a vapor pilot for it. Make vapor.
There's my. I need
Uh-huh.
to. It's all dusty right now.
Uh-huh.
I need to polish it up and get some stickers for it, but
Uh-huh.
um, and repaint the missiles because I tried to paint them a different color and they didn't work. So, but yeah,
Were
it's
the missiles yellow on that originally?
they were, and they're going to be yellow again. I tried to make them green, but
Yeah.
it
The
didn't
the
work. I
Hurricane
want yellow
VTOL.
missiles for it.
Yeah, the Hurricane VTOL is one vehicle I've never owned it. So I don't remember exactly, but Vapor. Now, is Vapor a trooper? Don't know. His the file card is ambiguous.
It's very ambiguous.
Um,
That's one
so he
that's gone
so
around and around.
yeah, he could it could be a guy. I mean, it could be a single guy who calls himself Vapor, the same way the individual, Wild Weasel was an individual pilot. Um, or it could be a class of trooper called Vapor. Or if you go the trooper route, it could be a female Vapor. I don't, to go along with the theme of customs that you make.
All right, JD scratched some of his off his list before we got started. I'm adding to mine, so he might have to add those back on because I just had another idea.
Hilarious. Okay. Um,
All right.
I can do that.
So my next one is one we talked about on last show, actually. Night Vulture.
You mean you mean
Oh, you did one. Oh shit.
hang on,
Right.
no, hang on. Wait, you mean my lazy classified version doesn't count as a proper Night Force Cynic custom? No, it does not count as a proper Night Force Cynic custom.
And that's
Who
one
am
of
I
where I
kidding?
think accessories will be cool too.
Who am I
I,
kidding? I
I
even
like
joked
the
last
figure
year
that
this thing was barely a custom.
I like the figure that the club did, but I hated the accessories they gave it.
I'm gonna have to look at that. I don't remember.
They came with that cloth like wing thing that was shit.
Oh, the flying squirrel backpack thing. Yeah,
I
that
hated it.
was weird.
So, but I like the color scheme. I think it's a really interesting figure. I think it's a really good concept. Hasbro botched it, honestly, in my opinion, on the first one. They came really close with the second version that came out in the club edition, or the club as a club figure. It was a convention set, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, with
still think
Daredevil.
I still think it missed the potential that figure has.
Well, yeah, it was mostly a repaint, so it definitely. The original Night Vulture has been accused of being Snake Eyes in the wrong color scheme with the wrong name. The club version, I'm pretty sure it literally used a Snake Eyes head
I mean, it did.
and possibly Snake Eyes parts, and so it missed the directive. I mean, it missed the target altogether. It was they set out, they were on a mission to update Night Vulture, and they went in the opposite direction that they should have gone. Let's make it more Snake Eyes than ever,
Yeah.
but it's not Snake Eyes. Why use Snake Eyes parts then?
Yeah.
Dumb. So
that mine is Night Vulture. So go with your next one.
all right. You know what? I think it may have been a custom you may have already done. Yeah, I think it is, actually.
Let's see.
Munitia.
No, I have not done a Munitia.
Have you not done Munitia? I wanted to say that you had a while ago.
Never done Munitia.
Okay.
I like that.
Munitia was an interesting character.
I like that one a lot.
That almost came out in the DTC line, but then didn't. And then the club released the last DTC wave. And the big problem with Munitia was she was a brand new character that had a lot of potential, that was almost exclusively made of Baroness parts with a new head and goggles. So she had a new head that had like a hood, like a flight hood on the, but
like
then the hair sticking out of the back of it, but it was all black. So it again looked like she had black hair unless you look closely. And then the modern update that the club did of their own. Okay, Munitia was a Hasbro character that never saw release, so it got released as a club character.
Right.
And the club updated it in the modern line for, I believe, one of the figure subscription services. But guess what? It was mostly Baroness again, and they gave it a new head with a brand new head sculpt with goggles that could not be removed. So the goggles were part of the head sculpt, and while that part was okay, again, the rest of it was the Baroness, and holy shit, can we see Munitia as a unique character that has parts that are not the Baroness?
Oof. Yeah, because that's tough. I mean, female, you don't have a lot to work with female parts from the GI Joe line if you're going to use.
Not from the GI Joe line, but if you go outside the GI Joe line,
and you'll have to, because you've got Lady J, you've got Baroness, and you've got Scarlet. Those are your big ones. Those are the ones that are...
and most every character that's female that's come out otherwise was using a mix of parts like that, including, well, you could throw CoverGirl.
I was going to say CoverGirl, but that was kind of unique.
Mostly,
the updated version, the DTC version was...
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm talking like the Rise of Cobra version had the CoverGirl figure that didn't, but, and so a bunch of those parts ended up getting reused for other females. But, so, yeah, you got a small, so I'm just curious what you do with it if you took it out of the let's pretend it's not the Baroness mold.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that one seriously, because I've thought about it, but I haven't like said, because I it's obviously I like doing female customs, because that's kind of what mostly I'm doing right now is female versions of specialty Vipers. Yeah,
there's so many things they've done to expand female parts availability and accessories with things like the Joy Toy line, Boss Fight, even the Valkyries from MTF. There's so many more things available. You could go way outside the box and actually give Munitia a completely different, wildly unique look.
Yeah,
I know. I did a Munitia custom 10 years ago that used zero Baroness parts and actually looked a little bit more like an anime character than I wanted it to. But hey, actually, I have that here. I'd actually be able to find that just out of curiosity in case anybody wants to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you find? Do you because you don't throw away your customs, but how do you keep track of your
I
stuff?
don't, but sometimes I happen to find them when I'm looking for other stuff. And Munitia was one that I happened to find when I was looking for other stuff last week
Gotcha.
or last month. This was my take on Munitia.
I remember that.
Yeah. So it was digital camo pants.
Move it over. Other way.
Man,
There you go. Right there.
yeah.
What is that? The Uhura head from the Star Trek line?
No, it was from a completely different line that I found at Toys R Us. I don't even remember. I think it was a Dragon Ball line for the live action Dragon Ball Z movie.
All right, because the
And
ponytail looks
the
like um
and the goggles were off of a Microman figure, maybe
wow.
from back when Small Joe's sold Microman figures.
Yeah,
So that's my take on Munitia. Yes, there are some. Yes, it does use a Rise of Cobra Scarlet torso, but
can't tell.
no. But the rest of it is, yeah, I wanted to remove any and all resemblance to the Baroness, and I think I did that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I couldn't even tell you what you were using for parts there.
um,
All right.
I really had to think back on that one. Well, the feet were from the Rise of Cobra General Hawk because he had these super skinny, overly skinny legs. So I'm like,
Mm.
well, those don't look like they belong to Hawk, do they? So if Go Figure Customs was to make a completely anti-Baroness Munitia, I just curious what it would look like.
Man, yeah, I think this is going to be a harder challenge than it was last time. Not just selecting the characters, because I don't. I mean, the when you threw out the night, I had that Night Creeper pegged before we finished that first episode. I'm like totally doing the Night Creeper version too. Number one, he won't expect it. Number two, I had the head like because I bought that Fortnite figure and I don't know. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this thing? And I'm like, fucking yay. That's the perfect head for that thing. I'm like, sold. I had that figure built probably later that day.
Nice, nice.
Spent a long time painting it, but I had that done. I had that parted out in my head before we finished that episode.
Nice.
Now I'm like, I don't even know where I'm going to start on any of these. All right, my next one. We were talking about old Joe Customs stuff. When I was going by either Riot Viper or the Pros from Dover, I did an evil twin or evil brother of Spirit.
Ooh.
So I would like to see what your take on an like evil blood brother of Spirit would be. You'll have to. I'm still on Joe Customs, and that figure is there. I'll have to hunt it down. I'll send you a link later today to because I wrote a backstory for that. But it was probably one of my first customs. I was still living in Denver when I made that, so
Interesting.
yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah. I'd like to see your take on that idea.
Okay. Wow, this gives me a lot to think about.
Right?
Is your list done?
I got one more.
Okay, yeah, because I got one that I scratched off that I can re-add.
All right.
All right. One of okay, the GI Joe Extreme line. Okay, they had there was very little toy wise that they created, but there was a Dark Horse comic that added a bunch of other characters, including to the bad guy side. And one of the characters was named Wreckage, and he was kind of just a big burly guy. He had all this kind of hair. And I was inspired by Tanya and I have been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and there was a character um, on that show called Lash who had like dreads and he was all monstery looking. Well, this Wreckage character that they created for the Sigma 6 toy line or for the GI Joe Extreme toy line. I don't know if he actually got a figure. Cuz you remember those figures. They were 5 inches tall. They were very Kennerized. They had no articulation.
I remember
And they were all battle poses, and I know that there was a prototype for him of the figure, but I don't know if it actually came out. I remember Wreckage had a bigger part in the GI Joe Extreme comic the Dark Horse put out, but I think he had an eye patch, and he's 90s extreme. Let's put it that way. And I don't care. I was just curious to see what you do with it.
Oh man. Yeah, he did get a figure. He kind of looks like Wolverine. His sculpt, long hair, eye patch.
I guess you're right. I guess it did. Yeah, I was watching Shield and Lash came out, and then I'm like, can Wreckage look like that on the? So that's kind of what I. But I mean, I thought about Iron Claw, but I'm like, nah, you're not gonna make Iron Claw. And then I was gonna. There was the bald guy, the fire guy, the Iron Claw's fire specialist. I think his name was Inferno, but honestly, he's just not that interesting. So I'm like, So anyway, yeah, I scratched him off the list, but then I added him back. But if you scratch him back off your list, I'm not going to complain. Yeah, he's not my favorite idea. That's the least favorite idea that I had here. So,
all right, my last one then. If JD's going to challenge me to make a vapor, I'm going to throw down that gauntlet back in his face with Decimator, the driver of the Cobra Hammerhead.
I remember Decimator. I made one a long time ago that was a completely reimagined Decimator. So you're asking me to completely reimagine Decimator again?
Yeah, because the figure that came with the vehicle is very underwhelming. It's like a guy with a leather coat with a semi-cool helmet.
Yeah, which is why when I made a Decimator custom, I used zero inspiration from the original and went a completely different direction. So basically, it was Decimator in name only. So I have to come up with a new Decimator
that looks like
it
would go with. I know the Hammerhead doesn't get a lot of love, but it is one of my favorite vehicles.
I don't have one. I never had one. I did have a friend who had one, but I do remember seeing one briefly when I was a kid, but I never actually owned one. So you're saying Decimator, that's an update of the original while being more memorable than the original. Yes?
Yeah, I want something that this thing is filthy. Oh man. This is one of my next restoration product. One of the next things I'm going to restore because it is. I mean, it's got a layer of dust on this thing, but it's complete.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it's complete, so it's a good candidate for a restoration.
Yeah, this needs new stickers and the 3-step polish stuff that I do. I was going to customize it because I wanted to do what I did with my Cobra Bug custom and gut the interior. And I had an idea for because it's got that like dive decompression chamber
Is
inside,
that what
and
that is? Okay.
yeah, and there's like
Yeah.
doors and hatches sculpted inside. So I was going to like cut those out and update it to make them like functional. And then, the longer I had this thing, I'm like, I don't want to ruin this thing because I
Yeah, I
love
could
the
see
way
the
it is.
potential to make a mess of it, and then the potential to not be able to replace it.
Yeah.
Um,
So
um, so a decimator that's less of a reimagination than I did,
yeah,
and more of an actual pilot for the Hammerhead.
something that looks like it
Um,
would go with the hammerhead. The one thing I absolutely detested about the decimator, and it's one of the reasons I've never gotten that figure, is because it doesn't look the hammerhead's a basically an amphibious tank. I mean, it's a six by six amphibious tank with just a shit ton of firepower and one, two, three, four, five separate vehicles that fall off of this thing. It's just, it should have been something closer to what a Secto Viper looks like. The Secto Viper, I think, was an awesome figure for the bug. And I
yeah.
think the Hammerhead should have gotten something bulky like that because you're not gonna be in an underwater tank in a pair of jeans and a leather jacket.
Um, the Astro Viper repainted in Decimator's color scheme, but with the Decimator helmet with the Hammerhead look instead of the Astro Viper helmet, that's more akin to what it would have had.
Yeah, I
Kind
could
of
see that.
more
That's yeah, that
bulky, kind of scary, and yeah, because Decimator, I've seen his parts used for other character customs. And yeah, he doesn't really look like he was meant to be a trooper. But again, the file card's ambiguous, so it
it
could
is.
go either way.
Yeah,
But all right.
that's why I
All
went with
right.
it. So it's either a trooper or it's a unique character. Knowing you, it'll be a unique character.
Possibly.
Yeah. So, you got any other ones?
No.
Okay.
This gives me a lot to chew on, and you've got more than enough to chew on now, I
Let's see
feel
if you
like.
if you got a if you don't have any, I could probably throw one more in there.
I mean, I could, but it's a very when I say throw in, it's kind of a throw away. But that
Throw it
doesn't
out
mean
there.
that
Let's do it.
I mean, it doesn't mean it's throwaway to make a custom of. I mean, throwaway is in terms of, well, Hasbro forgot about him as fast as he was created, and nobody remembers him. Hard
Totally.
Drive. Hard Drive, a computer specialist from the Valor versus Venom line. He was wearing a bright green baseball cap, a black button up shirt,
He had that real
bright
cool
green
wrist.
trousers, and he had like a futuristic thing over his eye that was supposed to be like a laser finder or like a heads up display or something. He would have fit in just fine
Ooh.
with a bigger, more Kennerized sculpt. I think he would have fit in fine with the Extreme line if they'd gone a little nuts with him. He didn't particularly fit with the Valor versus Venom line. He's very, very forgettable. But I always thought
I
he was.
kind of like. I kind of like that one actually.
I always kind of figured that they could have given him a second version later had anybody working at Hasbro felt any particular affinity for the character, but apparently nobody did. But he kind of always stuck in my head. I've tried to make a custom before, I failed, and like I never got very far with it before. I'm like, no, I have all these other ideas. I'm gonna go with one of those instead, and hard drive fell by the wayside altogether. Um, so
Hmm.
maybe.
Yeah, no, I actually got a couple ideas for that, honestly. Yeah, no.
I mean, just anything really to make it more memorable than the original. Because
Hmm.
yeah, like he never. As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, I think it was his entire body sculpt that was reused for Metal Alert and repainted in
Ah, might
bright orange to completely disguise the fact that it used to be hard drive.
Yeah, and I remember buying a hard drive just for he had a little flip up computer on his left wrist.
Yes. Yes.
I remember buying it just for that, for a custom. I couldn't tell you what custom I used that on, but that
In
was
fact, if anything, I think the little flip up computer on the wrist, because yeah, he had that, and almost because later on the Sigma 6 line, most of the figures had wrist mounted flip up computers. And I want to say that at hard drive, it seems to me like his wrist gear was the inspiration for that, and then the rest of him was completely forgotten about. So
yeah, no, that's not a bad one at all. I like that. Not to think
so
about that.
maybe not quite as throwaway as I thought.
No, I don't think so. I think that's a good one. All right, my last one's a throwaway for sure. Well, I say that, but so again,
My mind works in funny ways.
I know. So I've been doing a lot of customs recently of female specialty vipers. So pick a female specialty viper. Could be one I've already done, or it could be one I haven't done. It could be one of the pilots want to see a female version of a specialty viper.
All right. So an established one, right?
Yes.
All right. So interesting. Okay.
Because that's
So,
one that's like, okay, there's a lot to choose from, and we were talking about not too long ago about how there's a lot more female parts available these days. So
yeah,
it could be one I've already done, because I've done, I won't say most of them, but I've done a lot of them.
you've done a good number of them. Yes. Um. Interesting. Okay. Um.
And you could go, that could be, you could meld two of them together, and you could say that the decimator is a troop builder and this is a female decimator, or
Ooh.
yeah, or um, you know, like I've done Frag Viper, you could do a female Frag Viper or a Range Viper. No, you did a
I
female
have not.
Range Viper last time.
Yeah. Yeah. I did Evie from that Deke episode.
Yeah,
Um. The and also the Frag Viper. No.
yeah, I mean
Um.
that one's pretty
I
hard.
mean, the one you made was badass, but never in a million years have I considered making a Frag Viper. He's still not on the list.
Saw Viper, any of, I mean, an established Viper,
Okay.
and make
So,
female version of that.
okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean that, talk about wide open and just like room for like anything.
Definitely.
I think this is
Um,
a harder challenge than the last time,
I believe you are correct.
because all of the ones that we had last time were very specific.
Yeah, this is, I mean, some of mine are real specific, but some of these are real open ended.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the thing. I don't think either one of us had open ended figures in the last challenge.
I don't think so, no. Because I mean, a lot of mine, yeah, they're specific characters, but specific parameters like no Baroness parts for Munitia.
Yeah,
Um, anything but that.
yeah, and like the Eco Warriors Lady J. Sure, it's a character that exists, but there is not. You're not updating something that you're not updating a figure that was made.
No.
There never
And
was an Eco Warriors Lady J, which just kind of seems odd to me with the Eco Warriors having a Flint, and I don't know. Just
well,
I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, it's really, I can see why they didn't, because it didn't really catch on, but I think a Eco Warriors Lady J would be really cool.
well, and because she's wearing a safety suit, there can't be any Lady J parts. So,
Right?
not without disguising them somehow or adding to them, say. So, all right. Well, I've got plenty of brain food now.
Yeah, I do too. So everybody, this is probably the last that you will hear about it, aside because we will not be doing updates on this, aside from just reminding you that we are doing it, we are working on it. Um, and I'll probably throw out like I've picked my figures, or JD's picked his figures, or I finished my finished mine, but there will be no work in progress pictures shown on Facebook. This will be a completely blind unveiling
Man,
like we did last time, because I watched that episode last night, and just like the expression on our faces when we pulled those figures out was
yeah,
priceless. So that's what we're going to do again this time. Everything is just, JD shared some of his work in progress pictures with Sean Grogan and I did the same thing because I needed some help with some of the stuff that I was doing. But aside from that, this is the last you'll hear of it until we unveil it. And it will happen October 5th or 6th, somewhere in there.
yeah. So
Because that's when
until
JD's
then,
here, and we're going to do it. I'll live stream it like we did last time. I'll put out a notice ahead of time. And yeah, we'll mention that it's coming on the show, but
yeah.
there will be no like specific updates on this.
And as for General Geekery for July, we are chock full of guests.
Yeah, yeah, this is
We've
awesome.
got I think 4 shows planned, and there's a different guest on every one of them.
So
So
next week, I believe, is Marauder John himself. So the Vietnam, the Marauder Task Force, the Marauder Inc. Task Force, whatever you want to call it, Kickstarter is going on right now. They have just, as of this morning, unlocked the 10th goal, I believe.
yeah,
Stretch
the
goal.
10th. Yeah, what was that? The Green Beret Radio Man.
Yeah,
So they've got what, 4 stretch goals left. They're gonna clear that easily. And then I do believe they've teased that they have other stretch goal figures
they do.
once those are so.
And there's Marauder.
How far is it gonna go?
Yeah,
Um,
John told me a little bit about what they're doing. I can't reveal it, so uh,
no.
and
Also, there's another Kickstarter that just launched today. From a group from a pair of guys called the Scorched Earth Initiative. It's the Strike Force Alpha line. They are brand new. They're brand new characters, but they're O-ring style figures, brand new sculpted. One of which was sculpted by Bill Merkline, who sculpted most of the, at least the first 6 or 7 years of the original Real American Hero line. He did one of the Strike Force Alpha characters. They got him out of retirement too.
nice.
Uh, and and
So we've got
yeah,
those guys lined up.
yep,
Panama is going to be on. Mike Catch is going to be on again. He was a guest on the radio podcast originally.
yep.
Had him on as a
Sarah Grace is going to be on with us, and Troy McKee is supposed to join us at some point for his, was it Operation Longbow?
yes, Operation
Yeah.
Longbow. We're going to have
So
him on twice. He's going to kind of recap Joe Fest for us again, and I have a date set for him. I've got to double check on that. I've got it. A weekend. We have a tentative weekend planned for it. We'll have him on twice because his Kickstarter is not going to launch until spring. So we'll have him on to let us know, to tell us all about it. And then we'll have him back on once the Kickstarter is live.
yep. So we've got plenty of guests, plenty of geekery coming up.
Absolutely.
But until then, enjoy your Independence Day, and we will talk at you later.
Happy 4th of July, everybody. And stay tuned because we got a lot of stuff planned. And I can't wait to see how the second annual custom challenge ends up.
Second annual. No pressure or anything.
Right. So, as always, please do that fun social media stuff like, share, subscribe, comment below. And thank you for watching.